Hello, tech lovers. This is the Gadget Show podcast. I'm Suzi Perry.
And I'm Jason Bradbury. And a big thanks to CX for sponsoring this episode.
Yeah, if you've got old tech hiding in drawers gathering dust, give it a second life, trade it in and turn it into cash or credit.
And while you're there, you can pick up properly refurbished kit, phones, tablets, consoles, cameras, the full tech Christmas buffet.
All... Nice. All pre-loved, all tested, all with a 5-year warranty. Head to webuy.com or you can wander into a CEX near you. Well, today we've got a proper treat because the one, the only, Jon Bentley is joining us.
Oh, hello.
Yay! We're taking a deep dive into a subject that's been rumbling around our industry for years now. Are we finally witnessing the death of TV? So we're talking streaming wars, collapsing schedules, the rise of on-demand everything, and whether traditional telly has any chance of fighting back. But first of all, Jon, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well. Thanks for asking.
So, Jon, we haven't seen you for a while. What have you been up to?
Well, actually, in the last week, my sort of technological testing thing has been dominated by image-stabilised binoculars, which I'm not...
Of course it has!
Well, and they're not a new thing. I mean, they came out in the mid-90s, but somebody bounded up to me enthusiastically and said to me the other day, have you tried them? They've revolutionised my bird watching. And I thought back and I thought, actually, no.
Hang on, stop.
Yes.
What, someone just ran up to you in the street?
Well, actually, it was at the NEC Classic Car Show, in fact, but yeah.
Right.
It's still not the location
And asked you about binoculars?
Yes.
Marvellous. Okay, yeah, carry on.
Yes. So, he said he'd been trying some Canon image stabilising ones, which apparently they're probably leaders in this field. So they very kindly lent me them for a few days, and I think he was right. Because I've been thinking of buying some binoculars for Mrs. Bentley for one of her. I shouldn't say that, of course. But anyway, and I've been wondering about which ones to buy because there's always so many figures involved with binoculars. There's the magnification, there's the size of the objective lenses. You know, say 10 by 30, for example. That refers to the magnification. Have 10 things appear 10 times bigger, and it's 30 millimeters worth of light getting in. I hadn't thought of going image stable, and I always thought I could sort of hold 10 times okay. But image stabilisation makes a huge difference because you actually can look round the image and you can see details on the birds you might be watching or the landscape you're looking at or even the moon if you want to.
Yeah, because actually when you're really zoomed into something with binoculars, any tiny movement, you just lose it, don't you?
You lose it, and I was just amazed how much more you can see with stabilisation. I mean, the only slight negative, I did try some with quite strong magnification, and then you do get a slight, a bit sort of car sickness type of feeling, but with binoculars, but also some of the other ones I tried had a couple of different types of stabilisation. So it had a sort of all-dimension stabilisation and one that was just acting in a fewer dimensions, so that you could pan around and that wouldn't upset it.
So the ones that you borrowed were Sony?
No, they were Canon. Canon ones of 3 different types. So there was a 10 by 30, there was a 12 times one, and there was also a 15 times one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you see anything wonderful in your binoculars?
Oh well, there are lots of egrets and cormorants and golden eyes and lapwings and stuff, all in the middle of Birmingham. Actually, surprisingly, I went to the Sandwell. It's in Sandwell, I think. Yeah, Sandwell Valley Nature Reserve.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So which is not where I normally go and look at my bird life, but it was good as a first for me. That. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
So cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And a real insight into Jon's world, actually.
Yep.
Fascinating.
Jon's bird world.
Yeah. I've had a bit of a magic moment in tech.
Have you?
Yeah.
What's
And then
happened to you?
I'm being deadly serious. So a sort of circumstance came about where, I'm making this independent feature film.
You never said.
This movie. Stop taking the mickey, right? And so I thought it would be a bit like doing a very large sort of Instagram post, editing it. Yeah,
Oh, right,
yeah.
okay.
Nothing could be further from the truth. My original PC, has just decided to melt because obviously the more layers of effects and superimposition that you do and titling and all the other stuff over the course of a truly massive timeline, which the project of which is 4K, but the footage that I'm ingesting is 6K. although I'm using what I call proxies, which are sort of lower resolution versions. Despite that, my old machine just absolutely just melted.
Too much for it.
Now, a good friend of mine knew a man who knew someone else and chatted, and scan.co.uk, jumped in and said, we can help you. And I was like, really? And they said, yeah. And they sent me something called the Scan 3XS Evolve Studio Pro PC. I'm having to read that from the screen just so that you know, so I can get you to give you the spec. And it is literally like the computer from the future. I mean, it looks, interestingly, it looks a little bit like a kind of Atari 2600 kind of old school. It's beautiful. It's got actual walnut on the front.
Really?
I'm not even joking. It's a beautiful thing. And it's whisper quiet, whereas my old machine sounded like one of the radiators on John's, old cars, right? It was like, like the fan spinning when you, and this one is whisper quiet. But despite that, it's incredible. It's like real time now. It's like a knife through butter, and it's all to do with the way that they make these pro sort of workstations as opposed to a do-it-all computer that I had before. This thing is designed to move video really efficiently and multi-layered files and all the rest of it. So it's got a AMD Ryzen Threadripper 9970X CPU. All right. And the graphics grunt is aided by an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090, which is a really serious card. And yes, I am going to try gaming on it.
Does it need liquid cooling? Or
No, it hasn't got liquid cooling. It's cooled by a series of fans. But like I said, John, in normal operation, it's actually silent. In fact, I noticed it immediately because my microphone and headphones where you and I do the podcast when we're doing it remotely. Suddenly something felt different, and it was the lack of fan noise. Obviously,
it's a priority for me whenever I get a PC, which something you really can't take for granted with PCs is that they're quiet. I've learned from experience over the years. But and my current PC is getting on a bit, but it is more or less completely quiet. The last two I bought from Chill Blast.
Yeah,
and but I'm due for another one really, and
you should look at these guys.
Worrying me that I don't want to switch it on and be deafened when I then have to live with that for the next.
No, I can tell you, it is the
5-6 years.
quietest PC I've ever had, and even when I'm moving, and I mean, I click the proxy button, so I look at the real. I'll just look at the real 6K footage to see if this person's eye is in focus, for example, right?
Wow.
And it doesn't shift; it stays quiet. Obviously, it ramps up a little bit when I'm in the thick of big, heavy files. But my goodness, the performance is absolutely extraordinary. And I've also got a LaCie external drive. Wait for this. It's an external drive connected via Thunderbolt, a USB-C. But it's 60 terabytes, John. 60 terabytes.
Flipping heck.
Incredible. Because when you're shooting...
a spinning disc, is it? Or is that
it's actually two. In fact, I've set it up, and this is very clever, as two 30 terabyte drives, so that all of my movie footage is on one drive, and everything I do gets copied in the background, so that if a drive fails, you've got a copy, you've got a backup. But look, it gets better. I've got some really great news for everyone watching and listening to this podcast. Scan have offered to give away, not that PC, but one of their PCs to Gadget Show podcast viewers and listeners. Oh. And if you want to know how, we'll leave details in our social feeds. So keep a lookout. Make sure that you're tuned in to listen to me using television and radio language. Make sure that you're watching our socials, because we're going to announce this. It's going to be an amazing PC that you can win. If you're blasting through all our episodes and still wanting more, we've got you covered. There's even more waiting for you over on our Patreon page. Extra episodes, bonus segments, behind-the-scenes chaos. Definitely, that's how I describe my
life
tour of the lockup. Basically, a vault of gadgety goodness waiting for you to enjoy. And yes, it's all completely ad-free over on Patreon.
Yeah, and we've just launched something pretty special over on Patreon as well.
Yeah, we've kicked off our brand new Gadgets of the Decade series, starting with the 1970s. That was fun, wasn't it?
Oh,
From the birth of the home console, of course, the beautiful home console. Well, I was going to say the Atari 2600, but we actually start with one earlier than that, don't we? To the first proper portable tech. We're diving deep into the inventions that shaped the gadgets we use today.
So if you want to support the show and get access to all of that extra retro-loving goodness, head to patreon.com/The Gadget Show and join the crew. It genuinely does help keep our podcast
It
going.
really does.
And thank you very much. We'd love to see you over there.
Quick breather, all right, and a quick thank you to CEX, champions of affordable, certified, pre-loved tech.
Yeah, instead of splashing out on brand new, why not trade in on what you've already got? An upgrade for just a fraction of the price.
I mean, that's us, isn't it? They could have got a couple of young YouTubers, but they use that. We're pre-loved and we're cheap.
Oh.
It's a match made in heaven.
It really is.
If you've got a news kit, controllers, phones, old chargers, old TV presenters, turn them into something new and walk out with something you actually wanted.
Everything they sell is tested and comes with a 5-year warranty, unlike us. You get proper peace of mind.
Hit webuy.com or drop into one of many CX stores around the UK and see what your old tech is worth.
I'm not sure they're going to use this one.
Probably not.
Now, if you've been watching or listening recently, you'll know that we briefly touched on this subject in another episode. The big question around whether TV is on its deathbed.
Yeah, so we thought if we're going to dive into this properly, this is absolutely the moment to bring in someone who's seen every twist, who's smiling, and turn of the industry. And you're going to have to tell us why in a minute, because some people might not know. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, exactly. Today we've got TV legend, that is Mr. Jon Bentley with us.
I'm slightly apprehensive now.
No, no.
This degree of billing.
Please don't, but you know, because your experience in front of the camera and also behind the camera, it feels like the perfect time to talk about this shifting landscape within the TV industry, and you seem like the perfect person to talk to.
Well, thank you. I suppose it always has been changing, though, hasn't it? Really. I mean, whether it was BBC Two appearing in 1964, or whenever it was, which I'm not quite old enough to remember, but or whether it was Channel 4, Channel 5 appearing in the 80s and 90s respectively, and then the whole idea of being able to interact with everything, making your own stuff. It just seems to be a level of ever-increasing diversity, isn't it?
Can I just say one thing? I need people to understand where this chap, Jon, actually comes from in this argument, because many people might not know that you were a big force in the editorial, the other side of the camera, well before people that know you for the Gadget Show. Yeah. And I actually remember auditioning for you, coming to see you at BBC Pebble Mill.
What, for Top Gear?
For Top Gear GTI.
Yes,
yeah.
it was, which was the independent, or sort of the.
Well, that was a big change. That was another epoch-changing moment in television where the BBC was allowed to diversify and do... And it did loads of channels. The BBC must have done 20 or so digital channels at one point when digital became a thing. Yeah. But Jon, right behind behind so many of those trends, and you had a massive involvement with Top Gear, didn't you?
Yes. Well, I joined that in 1984 because I started as a researcher and then did directing, producing, series producing, executive producing, and all that sort of thing.
So that's why
Top Gear and other car programs. Yeah,
that's why Jon is the voice of authority in this amazing debate, which happens at an incredible time.
Yeah, it does. And I suppose what you mentioned earlier, Jon, about Channel 4 coming in the early 80s, Channel 5, that was the growth of linear television as we knew it. What we're talking about now, unfortunately, if we look at some figures, is the opposite, really. So if we look at some numbers to back this up, broadcast TV reach in the UK is down around 74%.
Good grief.
And only about 45% of 16 to 24-year-olds watch broadcast TV on a weekly basis. Plus, average broadcast viewing has dropped by roughly 2 hours, 24 minutes a day, while streaming has surged past traditional broadcast on a global level. So we're not just talking about the UK and the issues that, clearly we've discussed before about ITV and advertising and everything else. This is a global
and I will also add
shift.
I will also add, all right, that there has been a cultural shift, right? And what's that phrase in the quote? The culture culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? And so you can't strategize to get out of something that's on the wrong side of culture, namely what people want to do with their downtime. You know, when they're finished work, how do they want to consume content? And it feels like television has kind of got on the wrong side of that. And that's partly what's happening with this big issue with Trump and the BBC. And lots of other mainstream broadcasters that are finding it difficult to find an audience because there's just been a shift. People want to consume information in a slightly different way.
Yeah, so I suppose today, TV for people means Netflix, YouTube, Disney Plus, iPlayer, not necessarily the big box that sits in the corner of your room. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to unpack all of that, the viewing habits, the consumer hardware shifts, the streaming takeover, and what that means for television in the future. So, you know, first of all, shall we set the scene about what TV used to mean, what it's meant for us, really? Do you want to do that, Jon?
In some ways, you can think about what were the negative aspects of the way it was, in the sense that you had a very limited choice. You always had a gatekeeper in between you making something and somebody consuming it, which not necessarily.
That's the cultural shift I'm talking about.
Yeah. But it's not entirely, because you've still got Netflix is still a gatekeeper.
Yeah, but YouTube isn't. Not. I mean, you could argue, but not in the same way.
But also, virtually anything now that is technically possible is possible. So I mean, I was only watching the other day. I was watching a vertical drama, for example, which it was a thing I was before that I hadn't been aware of. So
a vertical drama.
A vertical drama is a drama specifically designed to be consumed on a phone. I.e., normally vertically, you normally have about it's like 60 or 120 episodes. They're all about 2 minutes long, and there's lots of cliffhangers. And
there's that one in a coffee shop, isn't there, that's very popular? And it's
I watch the car ones. Well, but it's just yet another thing that's possible. It just seems to me that we're just in a wonderful age of diversity, and obviously that does cause an attention problem for people with the traditional model of providing.
Well, that's a different thing. Now, Are you saying that there is an attention problem? I don't know whether there is or there isn't. What I can say is that my two boys, not my daughter to the same extent, but my two boys definitely have an issue sitting down and watching a movie. And obviously my wife and I discuss whether there is an attention deficit now as a result of them consuming short-form content on mobile phones. Now, I have no clinical evidence for that.
Well,
other than my
here's
own observations.
something. So my sport, MotoGP, that obviously I'm about to go into my 30th year of covering.
Oh, wow,
in
30
order
years.
to bring in a new audience, they brought in the idea of sprint races on a Saturday that were half the distance, half the time. And it's specifically to bring in a new audience.
Formula 1 as well, yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're seeing this across sport. They're bringing in shorts. I mean, I suppose with cricket as well. You know, they brought in the day cricket, and it is to introduce a new, younger audience that otherwise are going off watching different platforms and don't want to sit through like an entire Formula 1 race. For example, if you take Formula 1, you know, you're looking at the best part of 2 hours for a race. But the Drive to Survive has brought in their new audience, and kids kind of jump in and out. And that's almost, the race day is almost a sidebar to what's happening in Drive to Survive.
Formula 1 is still the bit I like. But also, I'm liking it better than I used to because it's so much more. You get so much more information on the screen. You can choose your driver angle. You can. Well,
that's your graphics, isn't it? Then you're almost multi-screening, aren't you? Really, within your own format. So we're kind of crossing different subjects
which happened
here.
on the BBC. Do you remember with the red? Was it the red button or the?
Yeah.
That was a big thing they got behind for many years.
And that's so clunky, wasn't it, at the time? But now it's smooth as.
But all those things are still a point of view live TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of this. So whether you're maybe in a sort of more traditional side of the viewership, or you're very keen on MotoGP or Formula 1, that is still absolutely live traditional television.
Appointment of view, and I suppose that's what we're talking about here, isn't it?
There's possibly less of it now.
Well, there is
because
much,
there's so many alternatives.
apart from sport, which sort of stands alone. In a way, it's the last bastion of original linear TV sport, if you think about it, because it's live. So you can only mess around with that to a certain degree. But recently, with The Traitors, for example, that completely bucked the trend, didn't it? It got massive viewing figures, massive switch on, which we haven't seen for quite a long time. I think you see it was strictly during the winter period. But do you think this is the case, John, where if you give people what they want to watch, they will come back and switch on to linear TV, or is it too late?
No, it's going to just be a smaller part of the whole, isn't it? So you're never going to reach those old-fashioned days of 15 million people sitting down to watch routinely things on a Saturday evening or whatever it was. I think simply because there's so many more other things to be doing. And I don't think it's necessarily that negative, really. It could be negative if you're an independent producer stuck in the world of television and that's all you do. And I understand there's some more frightening statistics around. There's sort of 70% of independent TV producers reckon they're about to go bust shortly. And that's probably not good for them, but on the other hand, I'm sure people are going to be doing something else similar, and it's going to be created by somebody.
Let me jump in and say one more thing. What about what's commonly referred to as AI slop? Now, this is really interesting. So, I read a book a while ago called Life 3.0, and it really affected me. The book is written by an MIT professor, and it's all about the AI age and where we're going, eventually ending up at general AGI, artificial general intelligence. Anyway, The first part of the book, which is strange for an academic book, it's a fictional account of a company coming up with the first AGI and trying to find out and keeping it secret and trying to find out how they can commercialize it and make some money. And they try making money on the stock market and they try other things. But what they find is the best way to make money, bearing in mind this is a fictional account, albeit from an AI expert at MIT in the real world, they make in-the-box content, meaning at first it's animation, in the box meaning just computer created, right? Fully computer created. Animated series, and then they start using live actors, which sounds a bit like where we are right now with all the AI-generated video content. Eventually, they've got celebrities with social media accounts and really hugely successful worldwide series that are made in a matter of days, written in the computer, all that sort of stuff. Now, that to me feels like the next phase of this massive change in the diversification of content, where anyone can be a celebrity, anyone can make content. You don't even need to stand in front of a camera. You just need an idea. You feed it into an AI. I know we're not there yet. What we've got at the moment is slop. So it's pretty easy to define what is an AI voiceover or what on YouTube is a 100% AI created, historical documentary about World War II. But what do we think about that?
I think there might be a reaction against it. I think it all sounds overly abundant, and people will strive for the real. I think that will become the premium.
The question is, will it win? Because we've obviously seen a massive reaction in the music industry, in the film industry, with actors, with musicians, with the big fight back against AI.
Yes,
and their work really, and what they do. But will they win, or is it futile? That's the question, isn't it?
It is. I think you're right, John. I do feel in so many endeavours, and it's been the case. I remember in the 70s, certain trend would go through certain trends, and then I remember, it sounds odd, but the future of drinking coffee was going to be made in a machine, because all the machines came out in the late 70s, early 80s. They were really good. You had them in hotel foyers and all that stuff, and everyone thought, wow, that's novel, isn't it? A machine that can grind beans.
Called Clicks or something like that?
Yeah, that sort of thing, right? And then suddenly, actually, no, I want a guy with tattoos and a beard, and I want to wait for 10 minutes and pay loads of money to get a barista to make me a coffee, right? Because we want that human connection.
The experience.
Yeah. So I think, John, you might be onto something there that in that regard, that if the TV producers, if the gatekeepers can get their act together and they can stand firm and they can realise what it is about, say, institutions like the BBC, which is great.
Yeah.
And they can actually get back to their roots, then they could be ready for a pushback. But right now we're not there yet. We're in a state of flux.
Are you saying? Do you think that they can run concurrently together? So let's just call it streaming and linear television. Do you still think that that's possible in the future?
I just think it's about platforms, isn't it? It seems to me that one way of viewing this, right, is about how you consume content. And the reason for the vertical dramas, right, or if this thing with attention is real, and I'm sure many people listening and watching this will have experienced this if they've got youngsters or they spend time around young people, it does seem pretty reasonable to say that there has been a change in the in attention spans, right?
Yeah.
In the
100%.
in the negative, right? But again, I don't have any evidence.
But
for
on the
that.
other hand, some streaming series are incredibly long. Days of your life are spent in.
Yes.
If you want to watch all of them, which
Yeah, but my point is if you view it from the perspective of a platform, right, then it kind of doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't, because if the BBC or ITV or Channel 4 or whatever, Channel 5 are making content for the right platform, then it should work.
But that's the point, isn't it? Is it for the linear television?
When you say linear television, what do you mean?
I'm talking about BBC One, BBC Two, Channel 4, Channel 5. Because we're in a situation where obviously ITV are in talks with Sky, whether they're going to join together, because they haven't got enough money to continue, basically. And they're all fighting hugely to survive. BBC have got other political issues going on currently at the moment, but also in a financial situation with the licence payer how long can that continue?
Yes.
It's another debate, but if we throw that into the mix now of your television box traditional, can it survive against all the streaming platforms? What do you think of the fact that streamers used to drop the whole series, bang, and you'd binge watch it and it was a thing, and now they've realised that actually people quite like that appointment to view.
Yes.
They don't want to watch 12, 24 episodes in one go. And all the big
things like slow horses.
Slow horses.
Are not dumped as
they don't all come out. They come out on a weekly
Mm.
basis. Everything on Apple comes out. The morning show. They all come out on a weekly basis. So you have to on Wednesday. It's in, and you can watch it. And then you've got to wait another week.
So they're almost getting that sense of community back in a different way, in a slightly different timescale. So rather than you have to be watching at 9 o'clock on Monday or whatever it is, you'll have seen it in the previous week.
And
so
then
it
you
still gives you that
go
something
to work
talk about.
and talk about it with your friends. And then on linear, you've got the big shows like your Strictly, Traitors. Traitors, obviously the biggest of them this year. I'm a Celeb on ITV, and you've really got to watch all of them, because that forms this work community. If you actually go to a job, unlike
but
we
that's
do,
the other thing, though.
It's the water cooler chat, isn't it?
But it's the culture again. The culture. Everyone's culture has certainly since, not everyone's, but a lot of people, significant amount of people's culture has changed post-COVID. So many people now, like you say, there is no water cooler to gather around at 9 o'clock in the office and talk about what you saw last night on I'm a Celeb, because you're working from home.
I think there is a bit, because I think people do half and half now, don't they? People still do go into offices, and I think.
But you've got to admit that's a lot
chat.
of. But globally, there's been a massive change in.
There
work
has,
patterns.
and maybe it's not a physical stand around the water cooler coffee machine. Maybe it's a WhatsApp chat with your friends, like constantly while it's going. Oh my God, can you believe that she said that, or he's done this and he's done that? That still exists. That's part of humanity.
And after all, radio hasn't gone away. In fact,
Well,
more people are
yes.
listening to radio. And radio is although obviously with BBC Sounds and whatever, you would still have the option now to time shift.
So
as
are
well.
you still making sure that your phone of choice when you upgrade has got a radio on it?
No, because I do think now the world has gone beyond that, because the other. I mean, before we had. Things
I remember
like
you were
BBC
always
Sounds
keen.
I've always. I mean, I still use. Phones for that, listening to stuff while you're out and about. I mean, and in the car now, it's obviously tremendously with all the.
Yeah, there's been a massive.
Not just BBC
in fact,
Sounds,
isn't that interesting?
Podcasting and everything. I mean,
Who would have said that, though, that radio? Because I'm sure they were talking about the end of radio when television came
they
along.
were.
Well,
Well,
this is one of
video
the-
killed the radio star first.
Yeah,
Video
exactly.
played on MTV, and it didn't at all, did it? But I think what we're saying here,
In fact, MTV have gone.
and now MTV have gone.
Yeah, I mean, in every way that matters, they've certainly changed their business
Yeah.
model
But I mean,
profoundly.
radio is proof that live things can continue at the same time as the other technologies, the other way of consuming it, all those other ways are also thriving.
That's the point, isn't it? As humans, we want to be able to have that linked effect, like to be able to talk about something that everybody's watched at the same time. That still exists, and hopefully that will always exist.
But there is something new, okay? There is something new, and we mustn't forget this. We've talked a lot about the legacy stuff, but something new about YouTube that I'm particularly keen on is the authenticity. And I'll tell you why I mean this, right? As a breakdancing BMX kid from Lincolnshire, right, I found it hard in television, all right? I always felt like I was slightly not meant to be there. And that's because television, certainly in the 70s, and you will remember this, presenters used to talk like they were royalty. They would affect an accent. There was a sense of a kind of elitism about television. Now, I am absolutely convinced of that fact.
Are you saying that Valerie Singleton wasn't royalty?
What I mean is that having a regional accent on television was a big deal in the 80s, right?
100%, yeah.
It feels so strange now because now it's absolutely required to be as diverse as possible.
Yeah.
But back then it wasn't the case. And I certainly, maybe it's my own weakness, but maybe it wasn't a real thing. But I always felt like a little bit of the runt of television when I first started out and I tried to get a job and all the rest of it. And what I love about YouTube and TikTok especially is the realism of it. Real people with often nothing more than a phone doing something that lots of people, sometimes by their millions, really connect to. And I think television still has that lesson to learn.
Oh, do you think so?
I do, honestly.
Because I hear you, but I do think that television now covers all of that. I mean, imagine what it was like being from Wolverhampton trying to get into TV in the 90s.
Do you know what? I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Well, yeah, I used to
bet
get
it was an
told
issue.
off live on air to say Bath grass and all of those
That's
things,
what I'm
which
talking
I
about.
just didn't do because
I'd be interested to know what the listeners and viewers think, though. You know, maybe it's just a personal thing. Maybe it's a bit of a subjective issue that I've got. But I've always had a problem with television just feeling a bit elitist and not reflecting all of normal life. Just feeling like a bit of a barrier. The gatekeepers weren't people that naturally understood me or the things that I wanted to watch or the things that I wanted to say or have said.
Maybe there was an air of escapism, television giving you that conduit to escape normal life until EastEnders came along and made everybody miserable.
I think there ought to be more. I think there are more YouTubes about, but I think there may be an unhealthy dominance there of one particular company.
There is an issue with that because recently, actually, as we sit here,
you can have your channel closed down for.
As we sit here, 20 million channels have been closed down this month. 20 million on YouTube, and there's been a bit of an outcry because
20 million accounts.
20 million, YouTube accounts, and apparently, although it's still very much a breaking story, this is, but the implication is that they're using AI. And the AI has wrongly closed down channels, and many YouTubers who've got large audiences and actually make a living from it have had their accounts, I'm guessing, wrongly closed down. Although this is very much a new story that I've just been listening to in the last sort of 48 hours. But it did make me think, yeah, you're right. They are the gatekeepers in the same sense.
In a different sense, anyway, but perhaps less accountable.
Possibly, yeah. Certainly if it's algorithmic, then that's scary.
We're not ready for AI to become the gatekeepers in everything, are we?
I think that's what's happened. And I think AI is playing a gatekeeping role in many aspects of our lives and that we're not really aware of.
And there's probably going to be a reaction against that, I would think. As soon as you get a few
from your bank accounts to your YouTube channel, I think AI now is being certainly trialed as part of a kind of decision making process.
And that is another conversation. But going back to the opening line of this chat about whether broadcast TV is dead, what do you think in a summary?
Well, I think it definitely isn't dead, and there are bits of it that are thriving, but it's just that the whole is now much more diverse, and it's just part of it.
Right.
I think that I think the content that these big channels, these legacy channels make is still extraordinarily brilliant, and especially the dramas and in general terms, the news. And so I think that the quality of the output is exceptional. They've just got to try and they've got to reach their audience in new ways.
And the natural history as well. Throw that one in as well.
And the sport. And
the sport. I mean, I think there's a heart and head thing for me. I desperately want it to be able to run alongside streaming. And I really hope they make the right decisions and continue and bring out more content that will bring more people in to watch. But only time will tell.
Well, believe it or not, that is us wrapped for another episode. Huge thanks, as always, to CX for sponsoring the Gadget Show podcast and keeping our tech cravings nicely topped up.
And a massive thank you to the ever wonderful Jon Bentley. Always insightful, always brilliant. I think we can all agree on that. And actually, he's going to be back next time when we do our Christmas special with the one and only Otis Dealey.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. Thanks for that invite.
Oh, absolutely. But before we disappear into our usual pile of tangled cables and rogue SD cards, we want to give a shout out to our Patreon members.
Absolutely huge gadget love to Martin Budnarowski. Martin, forgive me, but Suzi, you got both of us. Peter Pinner, Timmy Bigger, are you making these names up? Dave Green, Ren Mandergorn, Dave McHugh, and Matthew Riley.
And
John.
I'm
Yes,
so
I've got
sorry.
some.
I want to give an extra shout out to Tim Bigger. Thanks, Timmy.
and a huge thank you as well to Dean Day, Chris Cool, Stephen Green, Tall Man with Glasses,
Yay.
Andrew Bamford, and Duncan Bell.
And let's not forget the legends that are Colin Jones, Gordon Packer, Richard Martin, Simon Ryland, Philip Eddington, Richard Wykes, and Danny Rushton.
How come I got all the hard names?
You did, actually.
If you want to join the gang and unlock bonus content, extra episodes, and of course the whole podcast fully ad-free, come and hang out with all of those guys and girls and us on Patreon.
Just head to patreon.com/The Gadget Show, quick, painless, and you'll be part of the gang.
That's right. Bye.
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 The Gadget Show podcast with Jason and Suzi was presented by Jason Bradbury and Suzi Perry off the telly. It was produced by Ewan Keel and Tom Clint and is a North One production.